My name is CW3 Jacob, and I am the State Equal Employment Manager for the Arkansas National Guard. And we're going to discuss the EEO program for the Arkansas National Guard. Now, as you can see, it's written as EO/EEO, but just understand these are two separate programs, and we're going to talk about the difference between the two. The mission for the Arkansas National Guard, as it pertains to the EO/EEO program, is to provide equal opportunity EO for soldiers and airmen in military status and equal employment opportunity EEO for soldiers, airmen, and civilians in technician status. Additionally, applicants for membership in the Arkansas National Guard will not be subject to illegal discrimination. All Arkansas National Guard personnel are entitled to serve in an environment free from discrimination and sexual harassment. Allegations of discrimination and sexual harassment will be given prompt attention and resolved as expeditiously as possible. The goal. It is the goal of the Arkansas National Guard to resolve and settle all allegations and complaints of discrimination fairly, equitably, and expeditiously. Whenever possible, complaints will be resolved at the lowest appropriate command level. Personnel who feel that they have been subjected to illegal discrimination have the legal right to participate in the complaint process. Personnel filing complaints will not be discouraged from filing a complaint due to fear of retaliation or reprisal. Now, that was the goal and the mission, and I wanted to read that verbatim just so we can make sure that everyone understands both the mission and the goal. Now, what does EO and EEO pertains to when it comes to a complaint? Just know there is zero tolerance pertaining to any form of discrimination on the basis of race, color, religion, sex, national origin, age if you're 40 or over, disability, and genetic information. Now, again, if your complaint or your issue pertains to something in this category, then more than likely it would be an EO or an EEO complaint. Now, if it doesn't pertain to something in this category, let's say your complaint deals with something. Let's say I think this individual is treating me differently because of my political differences. Again, so you might have a complaint, but it's not a complaint that falls under the EO/EEO program. So there might be an IG complaint or a labor relations complaint. But think about it, if you ever come to my office or talk to another EO personnel, again, we'll make sure that we listen to you and let you know that if your complaint does not pertain to our program, we will always direct you to the right individual or the right office that your complaint falls under. So we touched on it briefly in the mission when it comes to the EO and the EEO programs, because like I said before, these are two different programs, meaning it pertains to the personnel in different statuses. So who does the EO program and the EEO program pertains to? So it says the Equal Employment Opportunity EEO program applies to National Guard technician personnel, Title 5 and Title 32, applicants for technician employment, and former technicians. So the EEO program pertains to your Title 5 civilians and Title 32 dual status technicians. And individuals who apply for the technician program or your former technicians or former Title 5 personnel who might have a complaint or an issue, as long as that complaint is brought up in a timely manner. And we'll talk about the time frame later on. The Equal Opportunity EO program applies to National Guard military personnel, applicants for the AGR program, your active Guard Reserve, and former AGR personnel. So your EO program pertains to individuals in a military status. So again, if you're on MD status, if you're full-time AGR, if you're ADOS, or if you're in an AT status. So that is when your complaint will fall under the EO program. So filing a complaint or trying to get your issue resolved, who do you talk to? What is the time frame for it? It says technicians should contact the Equal Employment Opportunity Counselor. So in your common area, in your workplace, there should be tag policies or information in a common area, whether in a hallway, in a break room, somewhere that is visible to all personnel. So there should be a list with my name and all the EEO counselors that you can call or email if you have questions about a complaint or an issue. AGR personnel should contact their organization's Equal Opportunity Leader, EOL, or the Brigade Equal Opportunity Advisor. Now, on the Army side, we have EOLs and EOAs. Air Force does not have that. Your Air Force have just an EO personnel at the wing level. But again, on the Army side, we have EOLs. Should be at least two personnel per unit when it comes to the battalion and below. At the brigade level, you should have at least one equal opportunity advisor. So again, if you don't know who these personnel are, then there should be a tag policy or EO information somewhere in a common area where you as an individual can find the information, the phone numbers and emails to contact that person. Policies and procedures for filing a complaint should be posted within their organization's common area along with each EO professional contact information. Again, that's why I just touched on briefly before I read that bullet. Individuals who do not feel comfortable going through their organization may contact the EO/EEO manager at HRO directly. So that is me. So you should have my contact information in your packet, or again, my information should be posted within your organization. And again, if you don't feel comfortable going through your EOLs, your EOAs, your commander, or your EO professional in your organization, you can always come to me directly. And then filing your complaints should be done in a timely manner, which is essential to the process. Now, what is a timely manner? So for your EEO, again, your civilian and your dual status technicians, you have 45 days from the date of incident to file your complaint. 45 days. Now, on the EO side, military, you have 180 days. So, big difference. Just make sure you understand what status you're in when it comes to filing your complaint to make sure that you don't fall outside that window. So, what do I mean by that? So, if you're a dual status technician or even Title V, and you have some type of military affiliation, meaning if you're a Title V but you're still in the military, and you're on a drill status or ADOS status and something happens, again, you will have to file your complaint in that EO status pertaining to military. Now, if same for dual status technicians. Of course, you're working here throughout the week in a Title 32 status, which is still a civilian, right? So if you have an incident that happens that throughout the week, there would be a EEO complaint. Now, when you're on drill weekend, or if you're on ADOS orders or AT orders, and something happens, then you would have to file an EO complaint. So let's make sure that you're cognizant of the time frame, so that way you can still file your complaint in a timely manner. No fear. Congress enacted the Notification and Federal Employee Anti-Discrimination and Retaliation Act of 2002, also known as the No Fear Act. The act requires that federal agencies be accountable for violations of anti-discrimination and whistleblower protection laws. Individuals in violation of discriminatory and/or retaliatory acts face the possibility of removal from employment or other appropriate actions for discipline. So that means, number one, our organization, the Arkansas National Guard, the federal government in general, do not tolerate any type of retaliation, any type of reprisal due to an individual filing a complaint or even inquiring or talking to an EEO professional about a potential complaint. Again, our tag has a no zero policy. Again, that is a complaint by itself. And again, actions will be taken for any individual that partakes in any type of retaliation or reprisal actions. Reasonable accommodations. This is also a program that falls under the EO and EEO program. So a reasonable accommodation is a change to the ways that things are normally done in your workplace, and it'll be provided to any employees or applicants with disabilities, unless doing so will cause an undue hardship to the agency. And that's the key word, an undue hardship. So, what is a reasonable accommodation? So, let's say that number one, you come in and you apply for a job as a technician or a full-time personnel, and you let the hiring official or your manager know ahead of time. Here's my ailment. Here's my disability. Here are some accommodations I might need. That is one way to request a reasonable accommodation ahead of time. As you're applying and being hired for the job. Now, let's say you've been hired for a while. You've been a technician or for a minute, and you get into a car wreck or something happens, you have surgery, and your doctor says that you have to be out of the office for about, let's say, a month or 5 weeks. Now, you might have the time to file for or the right to file for telework. So that means if you're in your job, if you can telework, do some work from home, and your manager or supervisor agrees to it, and they say yes, that's a possibility, then telework might be a possible accommodation. I'm just using that for an example, just because that is one that we've seen the most as far as a accommodation being requested. Now, it can also be equipment. So let's say you need an ergonomic keyboard or one of those sit to stand desks because of an injury that you had when you came in, or that you currently receive. So again, you can do a reasonable accommodation for the equipment, again for the sit to stand desk, for a certain type of chair, etc. So those are just examples of types of reasonable accommodations that you can request. Now, how do you request that? It's two forms. The forms are really simple. One is one that you will fill out as a requester, as an employee, and the second form is what the supervisor will fill out, saying that they understand that you are requesting a reasonable accommodation. Now, your supervisor is not the one that approves it, which is what the second bullet is saying. Your supervisor can acknowledge it that you're requesting, but once you get done with those two documents, you will send that up to me, along with any type of medical documentation to support your request. We'll look at it. I'll make sure everything is filled out correctly, and then we'll forward that to the HRO director, who will be the one to actually approve or disapprove your request. And then if it's approved, we'll send all your forms back along with the approval notification, and then that way your accommodation will be set in place. Same thing for being denied. If you're approved, if your request is denied, we'll also send you a denial form letting you know why it was denied, and that'll be sent back to you and your supervisor. And last but not least, we have the Employment Assistant Program. So your Employee Assistance Program, your EAP, is a voluntary confidential referral service available to employees who have personal and or work-related problems that may affect their attendance, work performance, and or conduct. The goal of the program is to restore valuable employees to full productivity. So, what does that mean? So, let's say you're a supervisor and you have this one employee who abruptly started coming in late, probably smelling like alcohol, or you might think there's something that's going on. Again, whether it's alcohol abuse, drug abuse, it's just something in their productivity has went down, and you can notice that. And they're a good employee that you that you want to intervene with and make sure that any kind of actions doesn't lead to letters of reprimand, suspensions, up to termination. So this is a program to try to get the employee the help they need before it gets to those type of actions again of suspensions and letters of reprimands and up to possible termination. But again, it's not for every single employee. So as a supervisor, let's make sure that as you're talking to your individuals, your employees, that you can actually identify if this is an individual that can benefit from going through the EAP. Now, also, we have the self-referral. So the self-referral program works the same way. If you have your employee who comes to you and they say, hey, I'm going through something, whether it's drugs or whether it's alcohol or they're having some hard times at home, financial issues, etc., they can come to you and do a self-referral, and it works the same way. So um, whether it's the manager directing their employee or the employee doing a self referral, they'll come to me. We'll sit down together and we'll still make sure that we can find all the resources available to help get the employee back into a productive status. And so that concludes the EO/EEO program. You have my contact information. If you have any questions, you can contact me at any time at patrick.d.jacob.meal@army.mil, or you can call me directly at 501-212-4231. Thanks.